Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it is blisteringly hot again today. I was up at 7 to feed the cats and get started on the day, and it was already nearly 30 degrees. So, yeah. I'm in the mood for some light entertainment. Pun intended, because today it's all about the light cruisers. In fact, it's the poster boy of the light cruisers, the USS Omaha. I'm always banging on about how Tier 5 light cruisers are basically made out of citadels. And it's true, because they are. They're some of the most incredibly fragile ships in the game that just explode as soon as you so much as look at them. And that's also true, I suppose, of a lot of the Tier 6 light cruisers, with the Nürnberg in particular being very susceptible to suddenly exploding for no apparently good reason. But if there is one ship that personifies this more than any other, it's the USS Omaha. And don't get me wrong, I actually quite like the Omaha. It's not a terrible ship, it's got a lot of firepower packed into it, but you do not want to get shot at when you're sailing this ship. In fact, if you even fall asleep and start dreaming about getting shot at while you're in the Omaha, you should wake up and apologise to your Omaha captain at once. Les Turbo Panzer Tanker here, the captain of this Omaha, apparently didn't get that memo. As you're going to see in today's battle. Also, what is up with the Frosty Fir Tree camo? I mean, since the economic rework, camo on your ships, you're seeing a lot more naked ships going into battle these days, because most people did what I did. The morning the patch dropped and the economic rework hit, they just went and sold every camo they had, because they no longer provide any kind of benefit. They just look nice. Although in the case of the Frosty Fir Tree camo, they don't even look nice. That, even though the camo did, back when, camo actually did provide a benefit, even though that camo did actually provide a useful benefit, it just makes my eyes bleed looking at it, and that was the one beneficial economic camo that I actually sold, rather than suffer through playing a game looking at it on the ship that I was sailing. But apparently that's another memo that Les Turbo Panzer Tanker here didn't get. I'm just going to spend the rest of the video calling him Turbo, because that's way too much of a mouthful. Well, that's what she said. Anyway, general rule of thumb when you're playing a light cruiser, especially a mid-tier light cruiser, especially the USS Omaha, is you never want to be the first ship spotted. Because you'll get shot at, and you do not want to get shot at when you're in the Omaha, especially if you're at close range, like this, and it's extremely unlikely that your opponents are going to miss. Even more especially if you're at close range like this against a bunch of battleships who have guns of sufficiently high caliber that they will overmatch your armour and citadel you from any direction without even trying. But Turbo got a little bit lucky here, at least initially. First, that Renown has already fired. Monty over there was firing semi-armour piercing rather than armour piercing. Otherwise, Turbo would already be dead. The bad news is he only hit the Renown with one of his torpedoes, but the Renown is firing torpedoes back. That's right, the Renown has torpedoes. But now he's got the torpedo launchers up on the other side. A lot of people forget that the Omaha has torpedoes. They're crap, but it at least has them. And Turbo, of course, has the armour piercing loaded for returning fire at the Monty, who, well, yeah. Wow, the second set of torpedoes mostly missed as well. So he's got no health left, and he's fighting a Renown at point blank range, and the Renown's turrets are swinging around. He's gotten a couple of shots away. He switched back to the high explosive because it's a battleship and he only has 152mm guns. He's dodged the Monty's torpedoes quite easily. Is he going to get these torpedoes away and sink the Renown before he dies? Wow, the Renown overpenned and then missed. But he's not out of the woods yet. The friendly Dunker Q finished off the Renown, and now he's got a Congo and potentially also a Texas shooting at him. Now he could, theoretically, get out of this by hoping the Congo misses again and just not shooting, and the Congo does miss again. But for some bizarre reason, Turbo is just not interested in going undetected. I mean, he could relatively easily disengage here. But I guess he figures, well, I'm dead anyway. I may as well farm a bit more damage. He's probably done better than he ever expected to in an Omaha in a Tier 6 battle anyway. I mean, I don't know if you saw the matchmaking at the beginning. I think there were only 3 tier 5s on each team. And he's the only tier 5 light cruiser on his team. So he probably thought, wow, whatever. Wow, the Congo overpens and misses. I mean, I would have probably played this differently. I certainly wouldn't have been the first one around the corner of that island in a tier 5 light cruiser in a vastly tier 6 battle. Hell, even in a vastly tier 5 battle, you just don't want to be the first one shot at. And he definitely was the first one shot at, but then suddenly nobody's shooting at him anymore. What is going on? He has less than 500 health remaining. Why is nobody shooting him? I think what's actually happening here is that there is a little known consumable in World of Warships that only becomes available when your ship is on 1 or 2% remaining of its maximum health. Turbo has activated the somebody else's problem field. He has now become somebody else's problem. For all of you Star Trek nerds out there, this is a bit like activating the Romulan cloaking device, except not exactly the same. I mean, everybody can still see him. It's just that he's now somebody else's problem. The somebody else's problem field is particularly effective against enemy battleships. Because when you've got a 14 or 15 inch armor piercing shell, do you really want to waste a full salvo on a ship that only has 409 health remaining? Of course you don't. He's somebody else's problem. This is a very rare consumable, of course. I mean, you hardly ever see it in action. Because, well, when you're in a light cruiser, particularly a tier 5 light cruiser, and especially the USS Omaha, it almost never activates, because the second you get shot at, you just explode. But on those rare occasions when you do survive on minimal health, it's not unusual to see the somebody else's problem field activate. I think Turbo's intentions in this battle were pretty clear right from the start, and right from the loading screen in fact. When he saw he was in a tier 6 battle, he was the only tier 5 cruiser. In fact, he was one of only 3 tier 5s on his team, with the other 2 being a Congo and a New York, and 6 battleships on the enemy team. In fact, that's 2/3 of the enemy team, because there were only 9 ships per side in this battle. But when you're in an Omaha and you see that kind of matchmaking, it's entirely understandable for you to just think, oh, screw this. I think that's 2/3 of the enemy team can citadel me from any angle. You know what? Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever. I'm just going to charge forward, live fast, die young, and leave a moderately good-looking corpse. He saw that matchmaking right at the start of the battle, and he chose violence. Just expecting to get it over and done with as quickly as possible so he could go on to grinding something else. Things, however, did not quite work out the way he anticipated. I mean, it nearly did. When he came around the corner, at the point where that Renown eventually went down to the Dunkirk's guns, he had 4,000 health remaining. Then he got smacked up by the Monty and had 2,000 health remaining, and then the Congo clipped him and he had 400 health remaining. I mean, anybody else would have, and he should have died to the Renown, but he didn't. And then he should have died to the Monty, but he didn't. And then he should have died to the Congo, and he very nearly did, but he didn't. Fortunately, the Congo, rather than killing him, managed to get an overpen on his stern, rather than citadeling him, and reduced him to just low enough health that he suddenly became somebody else's problem. And he's been somebody else's problem on 409 health, within shooting distance and visible to multiple enemy battleships, and has done around about another 20,000 damage since becoming somebody else's problem. Man, this enemy team really weren't trying, were they? They've only lost 1 ship. The submarines are getting depth charge killed by battleships. What the hell? Yeah, this was an interesting battle, wasn't it? And yes, I am using the word interesting in the euphemistic sense of the word. When the entire enemy team between them can only sink 1 ship and can't kill an Omaha on 409 health, you know you're in for a treat. Man, that poor old Fuso doesn't know whether to shit or go blind right now. I don't think there's much chance of this turning into an episode of Game of Throws. I think Turbo's team have probably got this one. But can Turbo do any more damage to the Fuso? Can he get within range to score some more high explosive damage? Maybe break 83,000 damage done? And see if the somebody else's problem field is still holding. Oh, he's in range. Shots out. He is visible. Fuso, if you want a kill to salvage some measure of pride, shoot the Omaha. He's done 83,000 damage, and the somebody else's problem field is still in full effect. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Les Turbo Panzer Tanker, giving a textbook demonstration in how to properly use the extremely rare consumable in World of Warships, the somebody else's problem field generator. Do not, sincerely, do not try this at home, kids. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.